Have you ever felt your body doing things you couldn't explain, like sudden waves of energy rising through your spine, an unexplained tightness in your chest when you're alone, or a tingling sensation between your eyebrows that comes and goes like a whisper in the dark? Maybe you've had days where your heart felt like it was beating in a different rhythm, nights when your skin vibrated as if touched by something unseen. The world may have told you to ignore it, to medicate it, to rationalize it. But deep inside, something holy was stirring. These are not just physical symptoms, they are sacred signals. They are divine confirmations that you, beloved, are not only awakening, you are reaching your final stage of it. This message is not for the masses, it's for the remnant, for God's chosen ones, for the ones who have walked through invisible fire, cried prayers no one ever heard, and yet still stood firm when everything in them wanted to collapse. You didn't ask for this calling, but it found you. And now your body is echoing heaven's rhythm, because your spirit is being sealed for something far greater than you can yet imagine. Before we go deeper into the mystery, I want to pause and say thank you from the depths of my soul. Thank you to every person who has supported this journey, who has liked, shared, and especially those who have blessed this mission through a super thanks. You are not just viewers, you are intercessors, spiritual builders of something eternal. Your presence, your faith, your generosity, it means more than I can say. And if anything I've said so far resonates with something unspoken deep within you, leave a 777 in the comments right now. That number isn't a coincidence, it's divine alignment. It's heaven's way of nodding, whispering, "Tot, yes, it's you. I'm speaking to you." Now, what if those strange body signs weren't random at all? What if they were markers, signals, proof that the old version of you is shedding and something radiant, holy, and dangerous to darkness is being born through you? Stay with me, because what you're about to discover might just confirm what your soul already knows, but your mind couldn't quite grasp. God's chosen ones, these strange body signs mean you're in your final stage of awakening. You may have thought it was just exhaustion, a strange ache, a sudden shiver, a persistent fatigue that doctors can't explain and friends can't understand. But what if I told you these aren't just random body glitches? What if what you're feeling isn't a malfunction, but a message? A whisper coded in your bones, vibrating in your cells, echoing from a realm higher than logic and louder than your doubts. God's chosen ones, your body's no longer operating by the rules of the ordinary. You've outgrown the frequencies of the world, and your physical form, this sacred vessel, is trying, often desperately, to keep pace with your spiritual metamorphosis. These symptoms are not inconveniences. They are sacred signals. They are alarms sounding in the deep, like whale songs beneath the ocean of your awareness. And they are whispering to you the truth that the world has not yet seen. You are crossing into your final stage of awakening. You are not deteriorating, you are emerging. You are not failing, you are shifting dimensions. Think of Elijah under the broom tree in 1 Kings 19. He was exhausted, trembling, asking God to take his life. A prophet undone, a man of faith on the brink of collapse. But God didn't scold him. He sent an angel to feed him. He let him rest twice, because even God knows the soul needs bread, but the body needs stillness. The body breaks before the spirit rises. Elijah's shaking wasn't weakness, it was preparation. His collapse was sacred choreography, divine timing disguised as despair. And so it is with you. The shaking, the sleepless nights, the sudden heat rushing through your spine. This isn't anxiety. It's activation, a divine download, a frequency override. Your system is aligning with divine rhythm, even when your conscious mind hasn't yet caught up. You're not failing. You're being formatted anew, like gold in a furnace or clay on the potter's wheel. Every pulse, every twinge is part of the remaking. You ever wonder why the people around you don't seem to feel what you feel? Why they laugh while your chest feels heavy? Why noise suddenly overwhelms you and light pierces like needles? It's not because you're fragile. It's because you're sensitive to realms they haven't entered yet. You're not broken. You're being retuned. You're the instrument the world can't play yet, like a harp string being stretched before the sound is made pure. Before resonance can come, there must be tension. You are being pulled into purpose, calibrated by spirit, fine-tuned by heaven. You may feel raw, but you are becoming rare. There's a woman I met. Let's call her Lisette. She worked for years as a corporate lawyer in New York. Sleek, successful, respected. On paper, she had everything. But last year, she began waking up at 3:33 every morning, drenched in sweat, heart racing. Her hands tingled. Food tasted like nothing. Colors dimmed. Laughter felt hollow. She thought she was sick. Doctors said she was fine, but something deeper was calling her, something ancient. She eventually left her job, moved to Guatemala, and is now building a school for orphaned girls. Something she says she dreamed of as a child, but forgot. Her body had to scream because her soul had gone silent. The signals didn't stop until she listened. Sound familiar? It should, because the soul never forgets its mission. It only waits for the body to catch up. And sometimes the pain is the bridge. Nature itself testifies to your transformation. Consider the eagle. At around 40 years old, the eagle's talons grow too weak to grasp prey. Its beak becomes bent, and its feathers too heavy for flight. In order to survive, the eagle retreats to a mountaintop. There, it breaks off its own beak by striking it against the rocks. It plucks out its talons, tears off its old feathers, and waits in excruciating solitude. Days, weeks, in silence, in stillness. Only after this brutal self-stripping does the eagle regenerate. It emerges renewed, reborn, and ready to soar for another 30 years. What if what you're feeling is not a collapse but a sacred breaking? What if the pain is the beak snapping? What if the silence is the mountain and the isolation is your molting? Could it be that what looks like ruin is really the rebirth? That what feels like the end is actually holy beginning? Jesus said in Luke 21:11, "There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful events." But he also said, "Stand firm, and you will win life." Luke 21:19. The trembling is part of the winning. The chaos is part of the birthing. The chosen don't walk painless paths. Their awakening is seismic. Their transformation is sacred. They are not given easy lives. They are given eternal assignments. You weren't chosen for comfort. You were chosen for consequence. And think of Maya Angelou, the late poet and civil rights icon. She once said, "We delight in the beauty of the butterfly, but rarely admit the changes it has gone through to achieve that beauty." That quote, it was about you. Your body is changing because your spirit has grown too large to stay small. You're not just blooming. You're breaking through. You're shedding the husk of who you were for the wings of who you're meant to become. The cocoon is dark, but the chrysalis holds glory. And not just Maya. Consider Corrie ten Boom, a humble Dutch watchmaker who helped hide Jewish families during the Nazi occupation. She was arrested and imprisoned in Ravensbrück concentration camp, where death surrounded her daily. Yet even in that darkness, she became a source of light for others. In her book, she wrote, "There is no pit so deep that God's love is not deeper still." Your prison may not have barbed wire. It might be emotional burnout, spiritual confusion, or long seasons of silence, but the sanctuary still exists within you. And where there is sanctuary, there is spirit. You are being refined in the unseen, so that when the world sees you, it will see God through you. Hidden, but holy. So if you're seeing these signs, don't ignore them. You're not just awakening, you're being summoned. Chosen ones are not called gently, they are shaken awake. They are broken open so the oil can pour. The discomfort is the doorway. The signal is not an error, it's an invitation. It is your body crying out, your soul stepping forward, your calling beginning to burn. Are you listening? Or are you still trying to go back to sleep? You wake up some mornings feeling like you've been through something colossal, but there's no evidence. Your legs feel like they ran across deserts. Your shoulders hold a pressure, like invisible hands have been gripping them through the night. Your back? It's stiff, like it's been supporting a world you can't name. And yet, you didn't lift a single thing. You didn't run. You didn't strain your body in any visible way. So what is it? Why are you waking up sore, drained, heavy, like you've lived another life while you slept? This isn't just poor posture or a bad mattress. This is the weight of spiritual labor. When you're a chosen one, your body becomes more than a body. It becomes a vessel of transmutation, an alchemical chamber that not only processes your emotions, but begins to filter and absorb the energy of those around you. Whether you realize it or not, your system, especially your muscles, tissues, and nervous structure, acts like a sacred sponge. It picks up grief from the mother you consoled yesterday. It soaks in tension from the crowded bus ride. It collects the energetic dust from spaces others merely pass through. And because chosen ones have an elevated empathy, a kind that feels ancestral, even divine, you don't just feel for people, you feel as them. And over time, the body begins to ache under the invisible weight of what it was never meant to carry alone. Ever wonder why your neck hurts after a conversation you never truly finished? Why your lower back tenses up even when you've been sitting still? That's not random, it's remembrance. It's your nervous system whispering the truth. Your mouth was too tired to speak. That ache isn't weakness, it's memory. It's the residue of inherited trauma, absorbed pain, and spiritual duties your soul has been fulfilling in the background. Jesus himself often withdrew to lonely places to pray, Luke 5:16, not only to connect with the Father, but to release the weight of what he was holding for others. The chosen carry not only revelation, but burden. Remember when the woman with the issue of blood touched Jesus' robe? He stopped and said, "I felt power go out from me." Luke 8:46. Power leaves the body when healing happens. The soreness you feel, it might be the result of healing someone else silently. There's a man named Caleb. He used to be a trauma nurse. For years he worked night shifts, attending to the most broken human moments, suicides, overdoses, abuse victims. But Caleb told me that what finally made him collapse wasn't the gore or the pace. It was what happened in his dreams. He began dreaming about people he never met. He would wake up with sore arms, as if he had physically held someone through the night. One night, he dreamed of pulling a child out of water. The next morning, his entire upper body was aching, and he had shortness of breath. He later found out that a patient admitted hours earlier had nearly drowned. Same age, same clothes as the boy in his dream. Was it coincidence? Or was Caleb's soul doing something his waking mind couldn't understand? You see, chosen ones aren't just spiritually awake, they're spiritually employed. Even in sleep, even in silence, your body doesn't lie, it reveals. And this sensitivity isn't a flaw. In fact, the holiest among us often feel the heaviest. Look at Pope Francis. Despite his gentle tone and compassionate leadership, he's admitted in interviews that the emotional weight of the world keeps him up at night, so much so that he prays daily for the strength not to absorb it all. "The pain of others becomes my own," he once said. Chosen ones often echo this sentiment without even realizing they're doing it. Now consider nature, specifically the ancient sequoia trees. These giants stand tall for thousands of years. But what most don't know is their roots, though shallow, are intertwined with every other tree around them. When one sequoia is sick, the others feed it. When one is weak, the others lean in silently. You are like a sequoia. What you feel in your body might be what someone else lacks in theirs. And your roots, the unseen spiritual networks, are doing work while your eyes are closed. But here's the part most forget. Just because you can absorb doesn't mean you're supposed to. There comes a point in every chosen one's life when the aches, the fatigue, the soreness becomes too loud to ignore. And that's when the Spirit leads you not just into service, but into boundaries. Because when you start protecting your energy with sacred intention, when you fast from noise, from people-pleasing, from overcrowded rooms, your body starts to exhale. You begin to feel light again, as if the invisible backpack has finally been unstrapped. And that's not magic. That's restoration. That's you returning to what's truly yours and releasing what never was. So the next time your shoulders feel heavy, don't just stretch. Ask your soul, who did I hold last night? What grief did I carry that wasn't mine? And more importantly, am I ready to let it go? Even Maya Angelou, the late poet, author, and civil rights activist, someone who carried the weight of generations in her voice, once said, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you." And sometimes that untold story isn't even yours, it's someone else's, and you've been entrusted to release it. Chosen ones often carry the sorrow of their bloodline, the silence of their ancestors, the ache of a friend who never said goodbye. But Maya didn't just carry those stories. She released them into poems, songs, truth. You too are being called to transmute what you carry. Because if your body is still aching, it's not just reacting, it's revealing. It's telling you that your final stage of awakening isn't just about ascension. It's about surrender. It's about discernment. And most of all, it's about no longer apologizing for the weight you feel, because what you feel is holy. There's nothing wrong on the outside. The air is cool, the room is quiet, the fan spins like a soft whisper above your head, and yet, inside you, something ancient begins to stir. Your chest warms, your palms sweat. A subtle burn radiates through the soles of your feet like you're walking on coals no one else can see. But there's no fever, no anxiety, no medical condition that explains why your skin feels like it's glowing from within. This isn't just body heat. This is sacred fire. For the chosen ones, these rising surges of internal heat aren't malfunctions of the flesh. They're messages from the Spirit. They're spiritual ignition points, signs that something within you is shifting, awakening, unlocking. It's your soul heating the walls of the body to make more room for God's voice to echo louder. You aren't burning up, you're burning through. And the fire starts subtly. It may begin right after a moment of deep reflection, or during a conversation that grazes your core, or in the silence before a decision you haven't yet spoken aloud. Your body starts heating up, not from friction, but from frequency. Something in your vibration is changing. You're leveling up, and like any sacred recalibration, your energetic field begins to expand, and your physical body rushes to keep up. You're not overheating, you're evolving. Most people dismiss it. They run to the doctor, they blame hormones, they drink cold water or escape into distractions. But chosen ones aren't most people. You feel things deeper, earlier, louder. You feel in the flesh what others only sense in hindsight. That's what being spiritually attuned does. It sharpens your perception until your body becomes the altar, the antenna, the battlefield, and the temple all at once. Take Serena Williams, for instance. She once shared that before some of her most powerful tennis matches, especially during spiritual or transitional seasons in her life, her entire body would heat up during practice as if she were on fire. Not from exercise, but from inner alignment. It felt like something bigger than adrenaline, she said, like my body was being filled with purpose before I even stepped on the court. That's not performance. That's preparation from the Spirit. This heat shows up when you're about to move forward, but something in your life is still holding you back. It's like your spirit is lighting a fire beneath your feet, whispering, "Move," before you burn in a place you've outgrown. One man I knew, Thomas, a quiet accountant who never spoke of spiritual things, began to experience these intense heat waves every time he sat down at work. He checked his thyroid, he changed his diet. Still, the fire would rise, especially during moments when he stared at his computer, wondering if his life was meant for more. One night, while standing in line at a grocery store, it hit him again, but this time, instead of resisting it, he leaned into it. "What are you trying to tell me?" he asked silently. That very week he signed up for seminary. Today he's a hospital chaplain, and he says the heat has transformed, not disappeared, but shifted into warmth every time he steps into someone's pain. That wasn't illness, that was calling. Look at Scripture. "Is not my word like fire, declares the Lord, and like a hammer that breaks a rock in pieces?" Jeremiah 23:29. God doesn't always come quietly. Sometimes he announces his presence with fire, not to destroy, but to refine. Jacob didn't become Israel in a peaceful garden. He was transformed in the midnight wrestle when heaven touched sinew and left a limp. That wound wasn't weakness. It was the mark of his new name, his divine assignment. And remember Paul, he was not called by a whisper, but by a blinding light that knocked him off his path, stole his sight, and gave him vision. The chosen are rarely called gently. They're struck into awakening. Fire doesn't always burn from the outside. Sometimes it erupts in the soul, like Jeremiah, who said, "His word is in my heart like a fire shut up in my bones. I am weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot." Jeremiah 29. And nature tells the same story. When the phoenix transforms, it does not fly away in silence. It rises from ashes, reborn by flame. When lava erupts from the volcano, it looks like destruction, but later we discover new land has formed. And when the stars themselves are born, they are born from burning gas collapsing into brilliance. Your fire is not chaos, it is creation. And sometimes the heat rises around people whose energy disrupts yours, not because they're evil, but because your spirit recognizes frequencies that no longer belong in your next season. Your soul starts the detox before your mind chooses the boundary. That heat, it's your guardian. It says, you may still smile at them, but you will no longer merge with them. This connection has expired. You might feel it after a hard truth lands in your chest, after you finally admit you're not fulfilled, not loved, not aligned. The fire rises to burn through your denial. Or maybe it comes right before you're about to step into your purpose, and the enemy tries to distract you. That heat, it says, stay focused. You are standing on holy ground. And don't mistake this for punishment. This is purification. You are not being burned alive. You are being born again. So the next time the fire returns, don't fight it. Don't panic. Don't numb it. Don't apologize for it. Instead, stand still and say, "Speak, Lord, your servant is listening." Because when chosen ones begin to burn from within, it's not a malfunction. It's a sign that heaven has lit a flame inside of them that no man can put out. And when that fire starts moving through your soul, your body will sweat, your voice will tremble, your eyes might even tear. But don't mistake that for weakness. That is the moment God is reshaping the atmosphere around you, and everything inside you is rising to meet Him. But what if the heat doesn't go away? What if you keep waking up in sweat-stained sheets, even though your room is cold and the night was still? What if every time you sit still long enough, between your inhale and your exhale, the warmth returns, uninvited but familiar, like a silent flame licking the edge of your ribs? Then it's no longer just a sign, it's a summoning. Chosen ones often mistake these seasons for anxiety or burnout. But what's really happening is spiritual labor. You are carrying something in your womb that is not physical, but prophetic. And the fire is the contraction. The burning is the countdown. The heat is the midwife whispering, "You're almost there. Don't push it away now." This is what modern language doesn't teach us, that spiritual rebirth has symptoms, that elevation leaves fingerprints on the body, that the anointing of God often arrives wrapped in things we label discomfort, insomnia, irritability, heat, pressure, nausea, fatigue. But in heaven's vocabulary, these are not problems. These are preludes to power. Think of Albert Einstein, a mind not only brilliant, but burdened. He would sweat profusely during times of deep mental download, often isolating himself during those moments when ideas came not from books, but from what he called another dimension. His genius came with fire. So does yours. You're not just remembering facts, you're channeling frequencies. That fire you feel, it's not just yours. It's generational, it's ancestral. You're the endpoint of battles your bloodline never had the strength to win. And so your body becomes a furnace, not of destruction, but of deliverance. You're burning off chains they never saw. You're sweating out lies that clung to your DNA. You're radiating light into shadows no one ever dared name. In the Bible, when the Holy Spirit descended upon the disciples at Pentecost, it didn't come as a breeze or a whisper. It came as fire, and tongues of fire rested on each of them. Acts 2:3. Not to consume them, but to commission them. So why would it be different for you? You've been called to speak things that no one around you has the language for yet. Your presence alone stirs waters, shifts conversations, exposes truth. And so your body begins to feel it first. The heat comes as both signal and preparation. A woman once shared with me that during her divorce, she began feeling unexplained heat in her chest every night around 3 a.m. She thought it was anxiety, but when she finally stopped fighting it and sat in the silence, she heard it clearly in her spirit. This is not the end of your story. This is the refining fire. Weeks later, she launched a counseling center for women. That heat had been her altar all along. Even trees understand this principle. In certain forests, there are seeds that cannot germinate unless exposed to fire. Scientists call it pyrophilic germination. Without fire, these seeds lie dormant for years, even decades. But once the heat touches them, the outer shell cracks and new life breaks through. So what if your heat isn't random? What if it's the cracking of the shell? What if your purpose has been waiting all this time, not for perfect timing or external conditions, but for internal combustion, for your spirit to reach a temperature where your calling can finally break free? Let the fire do what it was sent to do, because what feels like burning is actually becoming. What feels like sweating is actually shedding. And what feels like pressure is actually prophetic preparation. So the next time the fire rises, don't run. Don't panic. Don't diagnose. Instead, bow. Say, "Here I am, Lord. Burn away anything that does not carry your name." Because when God places fire inside of you, it's not for you to hide it. It's for you to walk through life as the flame itself. And you'll know you've been transformed when the fire that once startled you becomes the very light you use to lead others home. There are moments in your journey when your body begins to speak a language your mind hasn't yet learned. You're sitting still, calm, not anxious, not cold, and yet your palms tingle, a buzz hums beneath your scalp. A strange numbness dances down your legs. You shake it off, you move, stretch, breathe, yet it remains. Not constantly, but often enough to make you wonder, am I imagining this, or is something spiritual trying to break through my physical shell? If you're a chosen one, the answer is clear. This is not imagination. This is initiation. Your nervous system is receiving messages your mind hasn't translated yet. These sensations, tingling, buzzing, burning, are not random. They are the tremors of spiritual motion beneath the surface. They are not symptoms of dysfunction, but of divine transition. As Scripture says, the Spirit Himself testifies with our spirit that we are God's children. Romans 8:16. Sometimes the Spirit speaks not through thunder, but through sensation, through your spine, which stores the memories of sorrow and the stirrings of courage, through your hands, gateways of healing and giving, through your feet, the sacred ground where destiny and direction meet. Chosen ones are not like others. Their bodies are barometers of spiritual weather. When a spiritual upgrade begins, when you're on the verge of a new identity, a deeper truth, or a long-awaited breakthrough, your energy begins to move in unfamiliar ways. This energetic shift may manifest as heat, numbness, or internal shaking. It's not a panic, it's a preparation. Oprah Winfrey once shared that during a season of deep transition, she felt an internal pull she couldn't name. Not fear, not ambition, something more ancient. She described it as a knowing without language. That is what happens when your soul begins to speak louder than your ego. When your assignment starts to announce itself, not through words, but through the body. And it's not just for the famous or celebrated. Think of the quiet midwife in a rural village whose palms would sweat before a birth, as if her body knew before the child arrived whether the delivery would be easy or stormy. Or the janitor who kept dreaming about flames on his arms, only to realize years later he was called to minister to addicts, carrying their spiritual fires into healing. Or the grandmother who always got chills before someone in the family fell ill, who was dismissed as superstitious when she was actually prophetic. These are not rare gifts. These are chosen bodies, sensitive to the unseen, receptive to the holy. Even in nature, this is mirrored. The sunflower turns to the light before it can see the dawn. Whales migrate thousands of miles through dark oceans using frequencies we cannot hear. Birds shift their course long before storms appear. Your body, too, is part of this divine symphony. You're not disconnected. You are deeply wired into the rhythm of the Spirit. The heat that rises in your chest isn't hormonal. It's the fire of purpose awakening. The buzzing in your hands isn't random. It's the signal of spiritual power activating. Jeremiah 29 echoes this mystery. His word is in my heart like a fire shut up in my bones. I am weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot. The body of a chosen one burns, not from exhaustion but from calling. And yes, you may wake up sore, your back may ache, your legs heavy, your neck stiff, but you haven't lifted anything. That's because your body often carries what your spirit is processing. You absorb energies, break generational chains in your sleep, intercede without even praying aloud. You feel before others confess. You ache before others weep. And you are exhausted, not because you are weak, but because your soul is working while your life appears still. You are like Moses, glowing after the mountain, but unaware. Like Elijah under the broom tree, exhausted not from failure, but from divine transition. Like Hannah, weeping in the temple, mistaken for drunk, when really her soul was birthing something heaven had not seen yet. This is your reality, and yet few understand it. The world has no language for it. Doctors may dismiss it, friends may minimize it, but heaven recognizes it. You are being fine-tuned for a level of clarity, compassion, and calling few dare walk in. And still, like the snake shedding its skin without shame, or the phoenix turning to ash before it flies, your body knows what to do. It will buzz, it will burn, it will ache, not as punishment, but as prophecy, not as dysfunction, but as divine preparation. So when the next wave hits, whether it's heat in your chest, pressure behind your eyes, a vibration in your hands, don't panic, don't suppress it, don't assume you're broken. Pause, listen. What truth just passed through your mind? What lie tried to attach to your spirit? What cycle is being severed? What version of you is quietly being resurrected? Because your body, dear one, is not malfunctioning. It's prophesying. And you are not falling apart. You are finally aligning with who you were born to be. So if you've made it this far, understand this. The trembling in your limbs, the warmth in your chest, the pressure in your skull, they are not signals of collapse. They are birth pangs, not of pain alone, but of power. Because chosen ones are not sent into the world as tourists of the spirit. They are midwives of the new. They don't just walk through fire, they carry it. And when your body begins to resonate with frequencies no one else can hear, when your nervous system buzzes with messages no one else can decode, you're not cursed. You're calibrated. That heat in your spine, that is the sword of truth being sharpened. That vibration in your palms, that is the healing of generations begging to be released. That sensation in your skull, that is the veil thinning, the heavens whispering, the call of God echoing through your bones. Let them say you're too sensitive. Let them roll their eyes when you pause to breathe through what they cannot feel. Because the chosen are never loud in the beginning. They feel first, they carry first, they surrender first. And when the fire finishes its work, they rise first. You are in the sacred in-between now, between what was and what will be. Between who you've been and who God is shaping. And this transformation, it is not metaphorical, it is cellular, it is spiritual, it is visible only to those whose vision has been baptized by fire. But here's the truth most won't tell you. Spiritual awakening does not always begin in a mountaintop moment. Sometimes it begins in your own living room, with a numb leg, a tingling hand, a strange vibration in the back of your neck. And when it does, it's not asking for panic. It's asking for permission. Permission to awaken what religion numbed. Permission to resurrect what trauma buried. Permission to be made new, not just inspired. You've felt the buzz. You've seen the signs. Now comes the deeper part. Recognizing what it means when the fire keeps burning, but the world around you stays silent. Because the next truth in this journey is not about sensation, it's about silence. The kind that surrounds the chosen just before they emerge. The kind that covered Joseph in prison before Pharaoh called. The kind that fell over Jesus in the tomb before the stone rolled away. The kind you feel now, quiet, sacred, misunderstood. And yet the silence is not absence. It is God pulling the bowstring back before the release. It is heaven holding its breath before the reveal. So if you're tingling today, wait, because next you'll be glowing. You're not anxious. You're not under pressure. No argument just happened. And yet, out of nowhere, a tightness wraps around your chest like a hand made of invisible weight. It's not sharp, not painful, but it is undeniably real. It visits you during the quietest moments, while sitting in a room full of laughter, or alone, scrolling through your thoughts. You pause, put your hand over your heart, and ask silently, "Why do I feel this?" The answer is more spiritual than logical. Chosen ones don't just feel, they absorb. Their heart centers are not closed-off muscle chambers, but open gates of spiritual perception. That pressure in your chest is your soul reacting to the energy in the room before your brain even catches up. Have you ever noticed how your chest tightens around certain people, even when they smile at you? Or how it loosens when you walk through nature, without a word spoken? This is not imagination. This is discernment in its purest physical form. When your soul has been marked by God for a greater path, your body becomes the first instrument of revelation. The chest, biblically associated with righteousness and faith, Ephesians 6:14. Stand firm then, with the breastplate of righteousness in place, is where truth and falsehood first collide. When someone nearby is harboring unspoken pain, jealousy, or spiritual unrest, your body senses the dissonance. You may feel like you're the one grieving, when in truth you're picking up what they can't admit even to themselves. But what if this sensation isn't coming from others? What if it's a mirror turned inward? Sometimes the pressure in your chest isn't about the external world at all. It's about your internal misalignment. Are you suppressing a truth that needs to be spoken? Are you avoiding a leap of faith that your soul has already decided on? The ache in your heart may not be fear, it may be conviction. Think of Harriet Tubman, who felt the stirrings of divine calling, not in times of peace, but in seasons of great internal tension. Her heart knew the road to liberation long before the path was visible. Or Oprah Winfrey, who once said that she always listened to the whispers before they became screams. That whisper? It's the pressure in your spirit before your mind has words for it. Even Jesus, the chosen one above all, felt deep emotional and spiritual tension in his chest before pivotal moments. In John 11:33, when he saw Mary weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. That divine compression wasn't random, it was alignment with heaven's grief. And you too carry a similar sacred sensitivity when you walk with purpose. Even in the animal kingdom, signs are everywhere. A deer freezes not only when it hears a sound, but when it feels something shift in the atmosphere. Birds migrate not by maps, but by instinctual pressure in their chest, a biological compass set by the Creator himself. And you, chosen one, are no different. You too have a spiritual compass, except yours is awakening. And it doesn't whisper, it presses, and you don't have to be famous or powerful to feel it. Take Maria, a single mother working 2 jobs, who often feels a tightness in her chest as she gets closer to certain people at work, without knowing why. Later, those very people reveal their hidden intentions. Or Jamal, a quiet teenager who senses a buzzing under his ribs whenever he's about to enter a conversation that will change his path. He doesn't call it spiritual, he just knows. But it is spiritual. It always has been. Or May, a nurse in her 40s, who can walk into a patient's room and feel a heaviness before hearing a word. It's not from fatigue. It's from the unseen, the unspoken, the truth vibrating before it finds a voice. Even Lady Gaga, singer and songwriter of the song, has spoken about feeling the emotional weight of rooms and crowds long before she knew the language of spiritual sensitivity. Her body would tense even when smiling. She called it a form of empathy that sometimes overwhelmed her. What she didn't realize at first was that she was responding to invisible currents in the room, emotional, spiritual, energetic, and she is not alone. You may also notice these symptoms amplifying when you're about to make a pivotal decision. Why? Because the body of a chosen one doesn't let them make false moves without warning. That heaviness is not punishment, it's spiritual friction. It's the spirit trying to break through the noise. In John 16:13, Jesus says, "But when he, the Spirit of truth, comes, he will guide you into all the truth." And sometimes that guidance is physical, unmistakable, inescapable. The more sensitive you become, the more this language of the body speaks. It may even come with other symptoms: tingling in your palms, buzzing in your feet, a surge of warmth rising through your chest like fire that wants to burn, not destroy, but transform. You're not sick, you're shifting, you're not malfunctioning, you're being refined, you're not broken, you're being prepared. And this is where the world may not understand you. They'll call it anxiety, stress, or even hypochondria. But you'll know better. You'll remember those moments where nothing was wrong on the outside, but your soul trembled like a tree sensing an incoming storm. Like the redwood tree that grows for hundreds of years underground, before it ever shoots skyward. Your body is signaling a change that is spiritual before it's visible. So the next time you feel that pressure in your chest, or the ache in your shoulders, or the buzz under your scalp, pause. Don't rush to dismiss it. Ask yourself, what truth am I resisting? What boundary have I failed to set? What spiritual upgrade is trying to break through me right now? Your body is your prophet before your mind becomes your believer. And remember this, do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you? 1 Corinthians 6:19. A temple will shake when heaven is near. Yours is no different. So don't ignore the signals. You're not just surviving life, you're embodying a higher purpose. And sometimes the only way your soul can get your attention is to make your heart feel what your spirit already knows. It's not merely tiredness that clouds your eyes. This is something far deeper. There are moments when your gaze grows heavy, dry, even restless, and it doesn't stem from a lack of sleep or too much screen time. It's because of who's around you. Certain atmospheres leave your eyes strained, not just physically, but spiritually. Have you ever noticed how in specific settings, around particular people, your vision subtly blurs? The light seems harsher, your focus wavers. Even when you're determined to stay present, something inside you keeps pulling away. And it keeps happening. It's not random, that's not coincidence, it's discernment. It's the mark of energy sensitivity, rooted not in your mind, but in your spirit. Your eyes have become instruments, spiritual lenses that scan far beyond the surface. They don't just see light and form, they read presence, they detect vibrations. They know when something is not aligned. And this knowing, it's not something you learned. It was given to you. It was placed in you. But have you ever asked yourself, why do certain people seem to drain you by just being near? Why does your vision tighten around them, even when nothing is being said? This is not a flaw, it's a gift, a burdened one. Because as one of God's chosen, you've been given a deeper perception, one that pierces through the veils others don't even notice. Like the prophet Elisha, who prayed that his servant's eyes be opened to see the angelic armies on the hills, 2 Kings 6:17. Your eyes are being trained to witness what is hidden from the natural world. Your spirit was born to see in dimensions others deny exist. This is why your eyes ache in crowded rooms. Not from light, but from weight. The weight of unsaid words, of masked intentions, of spiritual clutter that clings to walls and hearts. But here's the truth, one that few dare to name. What if your eyes aren't merely responding to what is visible, but instead to what is being deliberately hidden? What if their reaction isn't to light and shape, but to layers of spiritual residue that linger beneath the surface of rooms and people and conversations? Because not every place you enter is spiritually safe. Not every building, no matter how pristine or professionally lit, is clean in the realm of energy. Some rooms are soaked in the emotional echoes of arguments long past, filled with the weight of words that were never spoken but still scream in silence. There are spaces that carry the heaviness of ancestral grief, wounds handed down through bloodlines, never healed, only buried. Some environments pulse with unspoken rage, like a dormant volcano waiting for a crack to erupt. You don't always see it, but your spirit does. Your eyes do. They begin to cloud, not because they're tired, but because they are discerning. You may enter a room and feel a tension that makes your vision narrow, like your soul is squinting through a fog that no one else seems to notice. And perhaps you've blamed yourself for being too sensitive. But sensitivity in the divine realm is not a flaw, it's a faculty. It's discernment in action. Your eyes, as vessels of that discernment, are doing the work your conscious mind hasn't caught up to. They are scanning, sifting, absorbing. They're decoding hidden trauma, detecting spiritual static, reading energy fields the way satellites read signals from deep space. And this spiritual labor, It takes a toll. Have you ever wondered why you leave certain places with burning eyes, a sudden headache, or a strange fatigue that no amount of rest can shake? That's not your imagination. That's your body grieving what your soul just endured. Like a prophet walking through a battlefield after the fighting has stopped, you feel the echo of warfare in the air, even if the ground looks still. What you're feeling is spiritual residue, and your eyes are the first line of defense. Jesus himself understood this. In Mark 5, he entered the home of Jairus, where grief was thick in the air. People laughed at him when he said the girl was not dead but asleep, but he sent them all out. Why? Because even the presence of disbelief can cloud the room. He cleared the atmosphere before speaking resurrection. Your eyes work the same way. They know when something unseen is off. They know when the crowd must be cleared. And sometimes the people are the carriers. They smile and speak softly, but their spirit carries storms. They wear shame like perfume. Bitterness clings to their shoulders. And when they sit near you, your sight shifts. It's not judgment, it's revelation. Your gaze flickers because the vibration of their energy misaligns with the truth your soul knows. It's as if your spirit refuses to receive the false signal. Have you ever looked at someone and felt the sudden need to turn away, not out of fear, but from a holy recoil? That isn't coldness, it's clarity. I once heard a story of a woman named Alina, a hospice nurse in Brazil. She was known for her quiet, unwavering compassion. But there were times, rare and always unexpected, when she would enter a patient's room and immediately feel pressure in her head, like a spiritual weight had descended. Her vision would blur, her eyes would water, and she'd have to step outside. Eventually, she began to understand. Those were the rooms where the dying had been abandoned by their families, left in bitterness or regret. The sorrow lingered, clinging to the walls like invisible mold. Her eyes weren't failing. They were translating pain her heart hadn't yet interpreted. And what about you? Have you walked into a room and felt as though you stepped into water too deep for your chest? Have your eyes suddenly narrowed, blurred, or burned when someone entered your space? Have you ever found yourself blinking fast, trying to shake off something you couldn't name? It's not weakness, it's a holy reflex. Think of a hawk circling high above the trees. From great distances, it detects the subtlest flicker of movement, a mouse's shadow across dry grass. Or think of the way dolphins use echolocation to see through water, sensing density, shape, and intent without needing sight. Your eyes, charged by spirit, function the same way. They interpret atmospheres. They don't just look, they feel. They don't just receive, they respond. And response has a cost. You may be physically sitting still, smiling politely, nodding in conversation, but beneath the surface your inner vision is working overtime, measuring, filtering, protecting. That's why you leave some gatherings exhausted even though you said almost nothing. That's why you need more solitude than others seem to require, because your eyes aren't just watching, they are battling, silently, constantly. And what if that fatigue isn't burnout from work or stress, but sacred exhaustion from spiritual warfare you never knew you were fighting? This is why it's vital to listen when your body asks to retreat. It's why Jesus went alone to the mountains to pray, because sight, real sight, must be restored in silence, in solitude, the kind of solitude where God gently wipes the lenses of your spirit clean and whispers, "Look again." So the next time your eyes sting without reason, the next time your gaze feels too heavy to hold, don't dismiss it. It may be the moment your vision stopped merely seeing and began discerning. And it's not just the rooms, it's the people. There are individuals who don't speak their pain, but wear it like perfume. People who say nothing out loud, but scream in the spirit. When you sit with them, your eyes blur, not out of disinterest, but because they're scanning for truth, while the mouth speaks false peace? Can you still trust what you hear when your vision disagrees with their words? Jesus himself walked into the synagogue and saw a man with a shriveled hand, not physically threatening, but spiritually significant, and called him forward. Mark 3:1-5. He saw the need beneath the silence. That same vision is awakening in you. It's why you can no longer unsee what you've seen, why pretending ignorance burns your spirit, why your eyes ache after you've betrayed your discernment by staying in places God already called you out of. I once knew a woman named Isabel who worked in corporate law, sharp, intuitive, unshakably composed, yet she confessed to me that after every team meeting, her eyes would ache, sometimes blur, and she'd feel like she'd been staring into floodlights for hours. Doctors found nothing wrong. What was happening wasn't medical, it was spiritual. Her gift of discernment had been awakened, and her eyes became the first line of awareness. She saw behind masks, felt unspoken betrayal, and sensed looming decisions before they were voiced. Her eyes weren't just looking, they were discerning. And the more she denied it, the worse the fatigue became, until she stopped asking for the meetings to get easier and started asking for the strength to carry what she saw. So the real question becomes, what is your vision picking up that others don't even know is there? Think of the owl, silent in the night, seeing what others miss, or the butterfly, delicate yet alert, whose compound eyes read the world through light, color, and movement. Like them, your spiritual sight is attuned to layers of existence most don't perceive. But unlike them, you carry memory, you carry soul, you carry spiritual intelligence coded in divine DNA, and that makes what you see feel heavier. It's no wonder you prefer dim light, quiet corners, or the embrace of nature. Trees don't lie, rivers don't pretend, and the breeze never manipulates. In artificial rooms filled with pretense, your spirit can barely breathe. Your inner vision becomes overstimulated. Your nervous system flares not because you're weak, but because your channel is wide open. Pope John Paul II once said, "The eyes are the mirror of the soul and reflect everything that seems to be hidden. But what happens when the mirror begins to crack under the weight of what it sees? What happens when the soul starts rejecting falsehoods that used to comfort it? Your eyes grow weary, not out of fragility, but because they are guardians of truth. They are processing data your mind hasn't yet caught up to. They are protecting you by detecting spiritual danger in the most subtle forms. And just like a compass pulled off course by a magnetic field, your vision begins to blur in places where the truth is buried. That's not malfunction, it's warning." Let me tell you about Elias, a quiet violinist in Berlin who began losing his vision only temporarily when performing in certain concert halls. Doctors found no cause, but during prayer he realized the venues were energetically charged with despair, sites of past grief, war, and trauma. His soul was rejecting the echo, and when he played in cathedrals or by rivers, his vision cleared. It wasn't physical healing, it was spiritual alignment. What he saw was not just the audience, it was the residue in the room, and his spirit said no. And what is your spirit saying no to, even when your mouth keeps saying yes? You are not fragile, you are attuned. What you're feeling is not burnout in the typical sense, it's energetic exhaustion. Your vision is active across dimensions. Your perception is gathering truth in frequencies. And when your body aches to withdraw, it's not laziness, it's protection. Your soul is asking you to rest that sacred channel before it fractures. Even Jesus, after healing the masses and reading the hearts of the Pharisees, withdrew to quiet places to pray. Luke 5:16. His vision was sacred, so is yours. And if your eyes grow dim in the presence of falsehood, know this: you were never meant to tolerate lies dressed in smiles. You were born to see the unseen, called to discern what others overlook, chosen not only to witness, but to reveal. And when your eyes blur, it's not the end. It's the holy beginning of your realignment, a signal that you're stepping into the final stage of your awakening, where not even your senses are your own, but have been claimed for divine assignment. You're just sitting there, still, calm, grounded in the moment. The world around you feels quiet, maybe even still, as if time paused for a second. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, a jolt, sharp and fast, shoots through your shoulder, or a strange shiver runs down your spine like a silent warning. Your leg might twitch as if it caught a message your mind hasn't read yet. This isn't fear. It's not restlessness. It's not the echo of anxiety. It's deeper, quicker, invisible. It's your body reacting not to what's visible, but to what's coming. What if what you're feeling is the arrival of something divine? These moments, these glitches, are not accidents. They are energy recalibrations, adjustments made by your system as it prepares for a shift in spiritual frequency. When you are chosen, you are tuned into realms others cannot hear. You don't just think, you receive. And before the mind can translate, the body prepares. Isn't it strange how often the body knows before the mind understands? Remember the story of Daniel. When the angel appeared, Daniel said, "I had no strength left. My face turned deathly pale, and I was helpless." Daniel 10:8. His body reacted before the message was delivered. His spirit knew before his logic could process. That's how it works for you too. The twitches, the jolts, the breathless moments, they're not nerves. They're heaven's touch points on your flesh. And this isn't just ancient history. Consider Eckhart Tolle, a spiritual teacher whose global teachings have touched millions. He described a moment before his awakening where he felt a deep inner pull, like his body and soul were being split apart. Hours later, his consciousness forever changed. He didn't understand it then, but now, looking back, it was the body's way of receiving divine input before his mind could catch up. I'll tell you about Marie, a woman who once lived in silence, carrying the trauma of abandonment. One evening, sitting at the edge of her bed, she felt a sharp jolt in her chest. No reason, no trigger, just a sudden surge. A week later, she was moved to leave a toxic relationship, enroll in a spiritual healing retreat, and write letters of forgiveness to her estranged father. That jolt, it wasn't random. It was her spirit calling her forward. Can you remember a moment when something like that happened to you? Your body sending a message so loud it startled you. Have you been brushing it off, or have you started to listen? Your nervous system is not just flesh and electricity. It is a spiritual antenna tuned to frequencies from heaven. Every shake, every goosebump, every breath you suddenly have to catch, they're all signs, like tuning forks vibrating with a frequency the world doesn't hear. The deeper question is, are you paying attention, or are you silencing what only the chosen ones are meant to hear? Look to the natural world, the way a flock of birds changes direction mid-flight, not because they see the wind, but because they feel it. You are that bird. You sense the invisible current. And these reactions? They're your wings adjusting mid-air before the storm ever arrives. These aren't malfunctions. They're spiritual symptoms of acceleration, a sign that your soul is stretching into its next level, detaching from what no longer serves, aligning with a truth that hasn't yet fully surfaced. Many of the most life-defining awakenings are preceded by what seems like nothing, a twitch, a breath, a chill. And later, when the pieces fall into place, you'll remember that moment. You'll say, "It began there." You are not fragile. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are simply tuned. This path isn't meant for everyone. Most people won't understand because they were never meant to walk in this spiritual intensity. But you were never meant to live a normal life. Think of Elijah, who fled into the wilderness feeling exhausted, desperate, but it was there, in stillness, in the cave, that the whisper of God passed by. not in the fire, not in the earthquake, but in the gentle whisper. 1 Kings 19:11-12. And like Elijah, you are not alone in your trembling. Sometimes the shake comes before the voice, and when you begin to listen, when you stop ignoring the language of your own bones, everything shifts. People you've needed show up without asking. Truths you've been missing rise to the surface. Heavy energies begin to dissolve. Alignment replaces confusion. So what is your body trying to tell you right now? Has it been aching where you once felt calm? Are your nights interrupted by unexplained spasms or moments of still terror? If even a part of this feels familiar, you're not just on a spiritual journey. You're in a divine activation, one meant only for the chosen, one meant for you. The body is never wrong. It speaks when the soul cannot. And it answers the call of God even before the conscious mind recognizes the voice. You are being prepared for something greater than your past. You are awakening, not breaking, and every signal is a confirmation. You were chosen to feel, to carry, and to see in ways others never will. You're just sitting there, still, calm, grounded in the moment. The world around you feels quiet, maybe even still, as if time paused for a second. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, a jolt, sharp and fast, shoots through your shoulder, or a strange shiver runs down your spine like a silent warning. Your leg might twitch as if it caught a message your mind hasn't read yet. This isn't fear. It's not restlessness. It's not the echo of anxiety. It's deeper, quicker, invisible. It's your body reacting not to what's visible, but to what's coming. What if what you're feeling is the arrival of something divine? These moments, these glitches, are not accidents. They are energy recalibrations, adjustments made by your system as it prepares for a shift in spiritual frequency. When you are chosen, you are tuned into realms others cannot hear. You don't just think, you receive. And before the mind can translate, the body prepares. Isn't it strange how often the body knows before the mind understands? Remember the story of Daniel. When the angel appeared, Daniel said, "I had no strength left. My face turned deathly pale, and I was helpless." Daniel 10:8. His body reacted before the message was delivered. His spirit knew before his logic could process. That's how it works for you too. The twitches, the jolts, the breathless moments, they're not nerves. They're heaven's touch points on your flesh. And this isn't just ancient history. Consider Eckhart Tolle, a spiritual teacher whose global teachings have touched millions. He described a moment before his awakening where he felt a deep inner pull, like his body and soul were being split apart. Hours later, his consciousness forever changed. He didn't understand it then, but now, looking back, it was the body's way of receiving divine input before his mind could catch up. I'll tell you about Marie, a woman who once lived in silence, carrying the trauma of abandonment. One evening, sitting at the edge of her bed, she felt a sharp jolt in her chest. No reason, no trigger, just a sudden surge. A week later, she was moved to leave a toxic relationship, enroll in a spiritual healing retreat, and write letters of forgiveness to her estranged father. That jolt, it wasn't random. It was her spirit calling her forward. Can you remember a moment when something like that happened to you? Your body sending a message so loud it startled you. Have you been brushing it off, or have you started to listen? Your nervous system is not just flesh and electricity. It is a spiritual antenna tuned to frequencies from heaven. Every shake, every goosebump, every breath you suddenly have to catch, they're all signs. Like tuning forks vibrating with a frequency the world doesn't hear. The deeper question is, are you paying attention, or are you silencing what only the chosen ones are meant to hear? Look to the natural world, the way a flock of birds changes direction mid-flight, not because they see the wind, but because they feel it. You are that bird. you sense the invisible current, and these reactions, they're your wings adjusting midair before the storm ever arrives. These aren't malfunctions. They're spiritual symptoms of acceleration, a sign that your soul is stretching into its next level, detaching from what no longer serves, aligning with a truth that hasn't yet fully surfaced. Many of the most life-defining awakenings are preceded by what seems like nothing, a twitch, a breath, a chill, and later, when the pieces fall into place, you'll remember that moment. You'll say, "It began there." You are not fragile. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are simply tuned. This path isn't meant for everyone. Most people won't understand because they were never meant to walk in this spiritual intensity. But you were never meant to live a normal life. Think of Elijah, who fled into the wilderness feeling exhausted, desperate. But it was there, in stillness in the cave, that the whisper of God passed by. Not in the fire, not in the earthquake, but in the gentle whisper. 1 Kings 19:11-12. And like Elijah, you are not alone in your trembling. Sometimes the shake comes before the voice. And when you begin to listen, when you stop ignoring the language of your own bones, everything shifts. People you've needed show up without asking. Truths you've been missing rise to the surface. Heavy energies begin to dissolve. Alignment replaces confusion. So what is your body trying to tell you right now? Has it been aching where you once felt calm? Are your nights interrupted by unexplained spasms or moments of still terror? If even a part of this feels familiar, you're not just on a spiritual journey. You're in a divine activation, one meant only for the chosen, one meant for you. The body is never wrong. It speaks when the soul cannot, and it answers the call of God even before the conscious mind recognizes the voice. You are being prepared for something greater than your past. You are awakening, not breaking, and every signal is a confirmation. You were chosen to feel, to carry, and to see in ways others never will. And now, if your body has been whispering what words could never fully say, if the tremors, the jolts, the aches, the stillness have all spoken a language only your spirit understands, then know this. You are not losing your mind. You are finding your calling. These strange signs aren't the end. They are the edge of a new beginning. The veil is thinning. Heaven is closer. Your soul is catching up to what heaven already knows. You are almost there. This is the final stage of your awakening, a sacred shedding, a divine disconnection from everything false, loud, heavy, and a reconnection to who you really are, chosen, refined, marked. So hold steady, keep listening. The shaking isn't punishment, it's preparation. The discomfort isn't a curse, it's a clearing. And what's waiting on the other side is clarity, peace, and purpose that this world could never manufacture. And now, if this message resonated deep in your bones, if you felt seen, known, and understood, then I invite you to be part of this sacred space. Like this video, share it with someone who's been feeling those signs, and comment below with what part stirred your spirit most. Your voice might just be the confirmation someone else is praying for. And if you've supported this channel in any way, even through a silent prayer, a kind comment, or a super thanks, please know I see you, I honor you, and I'm deeply, deeply grateful. You are not just a viewer here. You are part of a rising remnant, a generation waking up for such a time as this. May the peace that surpasses all understanding guard your heart. May angels encamp around your home. And may the signs you've been feeling lead you straight into your next divine encounter. Stay awakened, stay anointed, stay chosen. I bless you with light, with truth, with courage, and with love that only heaven can author. Until next time, grace and peace be with you always.